Welcome, and we're live for those of you online.
Welcome, guys.
Please do jump in and say hello in the chat. We're just going to give it a few more minutes for people to log on before officially starting. Now, the exciting thing that we have from a digital launch is that we were able to invite people from all over Australia. We have a lot of international guests from New Zealand, Singapore, Europe, and Asia. So do shout out and mention where you're from. If you're not aware, we are in Melbourne CBD. Unfortunately, we are in stage 4 lockdown at the moment. So we are hosting from home, but it's great, so many of you to be able to make it. So give you a little bit of structure for today. Pass on to Blake, he'll introduce the Melbourne team. Then we do have a premiere of the Sculptform Studio mini movie, which we're really excited to see. So that will showcase the space. Obviously, we hope that we'll be there in person, but if not, we do have work of the very talented Steve Scalone. If you're there, Steve, shout out. I know you were planning on joining as well. After the preview, we'll open the floor for any questions. Ask away, we'll see them. There's Steve there online. Hi, Steve. We do have some polls as well, so you'll see that tab there. We wanted to get an idea where you guys are at in your industry. We're obviously all over different countries. So if you can go at some stage into the polls tab and cast your vote, there's 3 questions. It will actually give you then a vision of where everyone else is at. So we'll all get to know how we're doing these times. After Q&A, we will dry out our Moan and Chandon package. As obviously normally we would be doing this in the studio and enjoying a few drinks, which unfortunately we can't do, but we'll get one organised for the lucky winner. So that's what we'll go through, and I'll pass you over to Blake now.
Thanks, Kate. So hi guys, I'm part of the Melbourne studio team. I just wanted to start by acknowledging that we're living in pretty unprecedented times at the moment. So opening the design studio is a pretty big step for us. We're pretty excited about it. And at this point, we really just want to share it with the world. Before we do that, I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of a background about why we opened the studio. So for those people that don't know, we're a Bendigo-based company. We've been in Bendigo for about 15 years now. We've always had people on the road in Melbourne, but we've never really had an established presence in Melbourne until now. And it was about 2 years ago, one of our team members, Michael, he actually sat down, brought up a map, and mapped out where all of our clientele were in Melbourne. And it was pretty cool to see. About 85% of them were within a 2-kilometre square radius of where we put our studio, which was pretty eye-opening. Probably makes sense for all the people that live and work in the Melbourne CBD, but for us in the country, it was definitely a key learning experience. So we realised pretty quickly that we probably needed a Melbourne-based presence, and things kicked off fairly quickly from there. So on traditional projects, we work quite extensively with architects and builders on the project side. But this gave us an opportunity to be a client and learn what that experience was like. So we reached out to the team at Woods Bagot, who have been absolutely amazing. So I just want to take this opportunity right now to give a big shout out to the guys at Woods Bagot. So there's Bruno Mendez, there's Chrissy, there's Sue, and all the team behind them. They've done a great job. We're super happy with the result. So thank you very much. Following on with that, I just want to shout out to Peter Bennett as well, who did some great photography. Steve Scalone, who produced our movie that you're all about to see. We're super happy with that as well and very excited to share. And then finally, Ricumba Lighting. So for those people that don't know, we've actually teamed up with Ricumba. We've partnered up and they've provided all the feature lighting in the studio, which we think synergizes really well with our product. And we think that you guys will agree. So there's a few faces that I want to introduce you guys to. These are the people who will be based in the studio. So firstly, we've got Kate. So everyone's Kate was talking at the start. Hey, Kate. So Kate works in client engagement. So things like this, industry events, that kind of stuff is one of the key things we'll be using the studio for. Kate will be your go-to person there. Then there's myself. I work with architects, builders, subcontractors. So I'll be based out of the studio as well. Then we've got Kai. So Kai comes from a design background. He's part of the business development team, has a key attention to detail. He also loves a solution design project. So if you like the look of our modular system, you think that you want to adapt it to suit your project, or you've got a concept that's just a little bit different, Kai's probably your go-to guy. And then finally, we've also got Kalani, who's just recently joined back with us as part of our business development team. So if I was to guess what the key questions are, the first question is probably what is a design studio, and why is this relevant to me? So I will just we'll change the slide just here, one sec. So a design studio is effectively, it's a collaborative space. It's designed by architects for the industry. And one of my favorite quotes to come out of the movie we're all about to watch is, "It's where design meets constructability." So what that means in essence is that we want anyone in the industry to be able to come in with an idea or a concept or some kind of challenge and be able to leave with a tangible outcome. So whether that's us working through a practical solution of how to turn that design into reality or a physical sample, that's really what we want the studio to be about. So at the studio, we've actually got something that's called the CoLab. To describe it, I'd probably describe it like a candy store, but instead of candy, it is the different materials that we offer, the different profiles, the different coding options. So you can come in, pick and choose, or we can build a prototype there on the spot and compare in real time, it's been a bit of a gap in our range. Traditionally, the process would be, if you wanted a sample, we would put it in the system, the team in Bendigo would make it, and then we'd send it out to you. So there'd be about a week or two, which would really delay the creative process. We're now eliminating that delay, which is actually fairly cool. I know I'm super excited to have that capacity on hand, and we think that everyone else will like that as well. Next to that is a prototyping room, which is basically, we've got a really small suspended ceiling set up, a couple of walls there where we'll mock some designs, we'll work through a few prototypes and experiment, which will be cool to see as well. And then finally, probably the largest function of the studio is that, so it's 500 square meters. So it's not designed to be a showroom for Sculptform. It's not designed to be an office space. In essence, it's designed to be an event space. So we've got the capacity to hold industry events for 100 to 150 people. And our aim will be to get like-minded people in, to collaborate and to utilize that space. So that's it from me to start out with, guys. I'll now begin by playing our movie, which was produced by Steve Scalone. So thank you, Steve. It goes for about 9 minutes. It explores the background of the studio, the concept, the design process, and you'll hear from two people who are fairly integral to the design of the studio. The first one is our managing director, Jeremy Napier, and the second is the principal, Bruno Mendes from Woods Bagot. So thank you to those guys who've contributed. So please sit back, enjoy the movie. We're quite proud of the outcome. As you're watching it, please don't hesitate to raise any questions. There's a questions tab just there. Afterwards, I'll be inviting a few key people on, and we'll work through all of those questions. So thank you very much, guys. Awesome. So that's us, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll now invite a couple of key personnel onto the stage. Just give us 1 minute, but I'll just introduce everyone as they come on. So we've got Jeremy who will be joining us, who we've all just heard from in the video. I'll be here as well to answer a few studio questions. Then we've got Bradley Schwartz, who's just joined us. So Brad is actually one of the team members, part of our product development team, and was vital in us learning how to curve timber. And then we've got Mark Stewart as well, who was part of our project delivery team to bring us the studio. So welcome, guys. Thank you. So the next question we have is probably one everyone is asking, and that is, how do you curve those timber battens? And I might hand you guys over to Brad to answer that one.
Yeah. So timber is basically, it's a composite. So it's made up of fibers and a resin, which they call lignin. And what you do is you try and soften that lignin so that it can basically start to form. So it's like a plastic deformation, and as it cools, it starts to harden up again. So what you're trying to do is induce a process they call stress relaxation. So you're stressing the timber, but it's because it's in a pliable state, it then sets to that sort of shape. So in the process itself, there's a sort of basic step. The first step is you try and heat it, and you use a bit of steam to soften it. Thereafter, you form it pretty quickly on a former, and one of the things you have to do is to compress the ends, because timber doesn't like to expand. It needs to be compressed. And then once you take it from there, you put it into a stabilizing period, so it can get stress relaxation, and then from there it goes to finishing. So certain things happen, like with the steam, you get a bit of grain raising, which you're going to sand back and things like that. So you sort of, obviously it's timber and it does some bizarre stuff from time to time, but that's the basic process of it.
Yes, yeah, it certainly does. I guess an extension of that question would probably be, can we bend all species of timber, Brad?
The ones we've bent are American white oak. We've done some spotted gum and some American white ash. Some of the grains aren't particularly sort of compatible to bending. So the ones we've sort of stuck with that are up on the webpage are the ones we've tested and we're more confident with.
Yeah, definitely. So for everyone there, we've now got a page on our website that talks about our curving process and the different species that can be curved. So an example would be something like blackbutt, which is typically hard to curve and hold its shape. There's things we can do to make that happen, but all that information can be found on the website. I've got another question here. Which builder did you utilize for building the studio? So I might hand that one over to Mark, who was part of our project delivery team.
Sure, Blake. Well, yeah, thanks for all the questions that are coming in and everyone that's joined, obviously. So Sculptform, we actually managed the project ourselves and subcontracted a lot of packages. The carpentry package was one which was probably the biggest package, obviously, because of the physical amount of timber in there. So we used a company, Exact Ceiling Solutions, based in Melbourne, who've installed some of our products on other projects. We work quite closely with them on the installation of the timber battens, which was probably the main package. Obviously, we subcontracted out all the other services packages and the likes.
Thanks, Mark. I've got another question, which is pretty exciting. Do we have representation in New Zealand? And the answer to that is, yeah, we definitely do. So we have the capacity to carry out supply and installation projects. We've got one on the go right now, in Christchurch, which is being managed by Nelson, who is one of our project managers in New Zealand. And then we've also got James Thomas, who is based in Bendigo, but flies out to, under the current circumstances, stays in Bendigo. But before coronavirus was a thing, was flying out to New Zealand regularly. And I think that once things are under control, he's looking forward to getting back out there. So we've definitely got representation in New Zealand, obviously in Australia. That's it for the reps representing the company right now in terms of physical presence, but that doesn't stop our capacity to supply projects on an international level. Right now in our pipeline, we're working on a project in Washington. There's one in Canada we're looking at, and we've supplied them to quite a few countries. I've got another question. Are all the timbers in the studio FSC rated? And I might hand that one across to you, Jeremy.
No, they're not. All FSC rated, which is an interesting question. That doesn't mean that that certainly doesn't mean that they're not sustainable. And that probably leads to interesting topic about sustainability. So we used American white oak in the studio. You can get American white oak. That's FSC rated. FSC rated timber doesn't mean, frankly, that it is sustainable or that it isn't sustainable, which might sound like a controversial comment. However, an interesting fact about North America is that their forest cover now is about double what it was 50 years ago. So is American white oak sustainable? Yes, it certainly is. For a sustainability system to work, they engage the, you might say, the stewards of the forests, or which really comes down to the forest owners, and get them certified, and then there's a chain of certification. And in North America, most of the timber comes off quite small properties, like people clearing trees off their farm or whatever, which makes certification quite difficult in North America. And so one of the reasons why the price increases if you want FSC rated timber is because it actually limits the source of supply. And we all know with the relationship between supply and demand, if there's less supply than there's demand for something, the price goes up. And that's a little bit about FSC. We are actually FSC certified as a company. We're certified for chain of custody of FSC materials, and we do fulfill orders with FSC, and we do also with PEFC. So a lot of the Australian species, they fall under a PEFC certification system.
I've got this next question is actually another one I quite like, and it's what's next for Sculptform. And for, like, I might hand it over to Jeremy, but before I do, Sculptform is, what's next could be, it's a great question. We are very different 6 months later than we were before. We're always trying new things. I know product development has quite a lot of things on the go. So if you were to ask us that question next week, it'd probably be slightly different in a good way, but I might pass that one over to you, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, we're actually going through a stage where we're trying to reap the benefits of all the things we've done over the last couple of years and scale them up, commercialize them, which is a challenge. But a really exciting initiative we've got is obviously taking on more projects that are manufactured from curved timber. What's particularly interesting with that is the interaction with architects on a BIM front, which Mark's working on that a little bit. But it's just interesting where, like you spoke before, Blake, about how the curving has got certain constraints, and design constraints are something that every designer is familiar with, and it's what makes our job more creative. And so the way we interface with architects with software to taking into account all those design constraints, but then pretty much giving them a free hand, that's a really good area for development. The other thing is we launched our click-on cladding products earlier this year, and we are continually refining that. Bradley could probably talk more about that, but continually refining it and really finding our niche in the market. And so there'll be more releases coming out on that product. It is super fast to install. It's actually pretty well priced. So getting onto some new market areas on that would be good. International is a massive frontier for us. Really big opportunity. And we did the Australian Embassy in Bangkok, obviously a couple of years ago, quite successfully. And we've got a contract to supply the Australian Embassy in Washington, which is going to be an awesome project. And we've got various other, we're actually working with Big Architecture on a project. I probably can't release where that is yet, but that's got an enormous scale of burnt timber. Oh, sorry, not burnt timber, of curved timber. Burnt timber can't be curved, by the way, just FYI. So that's fantastic, and it's not easy with international. It's actually quite challenging to be able to. It's one thing to work with the architects, and they're awesome because we're such a natural fit. But surviving the rest of the commercial process is a challenge. So we're working through all that.
Definitely, thanks, Jeremy. So I'll just open it up to the last couple of questions now. We've had an amazing attendance. Thank you very much to everyone. So I've got another one just here that is, what does the collab offer to the design and construction industry? Can I create my own sample? How will this work? The collab, it's a pretty cool space. So in essence, if you're not sure about, if you like the look of the product but not sure how you're going to, or what kind of look that you would like to achieve, definitely come on in. We've got all of our range. We can pull things out. We can work through it. We can work through the different coding options. We can also build a sample then and there on the spot. So if you're not sure between, let's say, American white oak and black butt, we can pull those off in the sizes that you're interested in, talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each of those, and build a sample from there on the spot, which is pretty cool. As I said earlier, it's generally been about a week or two turnaround to do something like that. So to eliminate that gap, we think will really help with the creative design process. I might invite Kate to come back on stage, who has a raffle to draw out as a thank you to everyone who's been here. So we'll fire it across to, well, thank you, Brad, Mark, and Jeremy for your input, and we'll pass it back to Kate.
Thanks, Blake. Before we get to the fun part and draw out our Moe and Chardon pack, and mind you, you do have to be online to be able to get it. So too bad for those people that jumped on or couldn't make it. But first of all, I just wanted to run through the answers in the poll. So thanks very much for everyone putting in their vote. This time of the year, obviously, we spread all out. We wanted to know how you're affected in the industry. So I'll just go through some of those. So the biggest change that we see how we work now, it's very interesting that nobody's actually making different considerations for future projects yet. So I think that's a very positive sign that we see positives in the future and not so drastic. It's really positive to see that the majority of people have actually found a way to adjust and complete our work as we have to. So I think that's a good pat on the back to everyone being able to continue given the challenging situation that we have, and increase in collaboration thanks to digital media. So it's great to see people finding ways to work differently even though we can't connect in person. So thanks everyone for answering. Now I'll draw out a winner of our Moe pack. Be ready to shout out in a chat to make sure that you're here, and we'll grab your details after the webinar, send that out to you. Now I've got Jason Streak here as a lucky name coming up. Jason, if you're online, if you could give us a shout out. Oh, we might need to draw out another one. Jason, you've got about 5 more seconds. I know he was online before.
I'm pretty sure I saw him on there before.
Yes. So 3, 2, 1. Unfortunately, Jason, you missed out this time. The next name I've got here is Enza Angelucci. Oh, Jason just came in, and Enza. We've got you both. You know what? I think in good spirits, we can honour the prize for both of you. So I'm sure Jeremy won't mind that. So we'll get those packs organised to send them out to you. So we'll drop you an email to get your details.
We're a design company. We're also a generous company. We like giving people the benefit of the doubt. Good on you, Jason.
Thanks, guys, all for joining. We really appreciate you being here. I know everyone's having a challenging time. You're still working from home. Some of you may be homeschooling as well. So we really appreciate you being here. You will get a copy of the recording sent out to you as well. And for those people that couldn't make it, well, they'll get a copy as well. So thanks, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you in the studio, hopefully soon.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.